First year as a father, I know exactly how it feels. My first year was in 2020, then again in 2022, and once more in 2025. Becoming a father happens in a moment, but becoming a dad takes time, with lots of questions along the way. Questions we, as dads, keep to ourselves. Until now. So, how do I help my partner when I don't know how she feels? Marriage is it's a funny thing, or should I say confusing thing. Sometimes my wife doesn't always tell me how she feels. Sometimes I have to guess. And it involves being a body language expert. Um, and there's this one point in week 2 where I completely missed the mark. We were going through a bit of sleep deprivation, to say the least, and I went and I bought a new bassinet to think that I would help the situation. And when I came back, I just felt like I got it all wrong. The reaction that I got was not the one I was expecting. And at that point, I just felt completely lost. I'm a problem solver, or at least I try to be. When I see my wife look completely exhausted in the morning after a night of just constantly waking up with the baby, I tried to fix that problem. I tried to suggest, fixes. I tried to suggest, me keeping the baby upright before putting the baby down so she can get a head start on going back to sleep. We tried putting Ziploc bags of rice on the baby's chest just to mimic the pressure. We thought that would help. And none of that worked, and so I was just frantically desperate. Went online and bought this new bassinet that I thought would solve everything. Because that's what I try to do, right? I try to fix, right? I try to get a solution. That's just my personality. And that's how I've always been. But going back, the reaction that I got when I brought home that bassinet, she was not too happy. Or should I say, she didn't really care too much for the bassinet. And at that point, as a husband, as a new father, you're just in week 2 and you're just, man, what else can I do, right? I went and researched and I looked up all these videos on which one was the best that could make our baby sleep longer so that you can get rest. And I don't really get any appreciation from that, right? I didn't sense any appreciation from her from that. But then she did something that just completely changed my perspective on what she needed at that point in time. So I come home and there's this big bassinet, and it's like this new smart bassinet, and it's able to kind of initiate movement when the baby starts to stir. And so the idea is that it helps get the baby back to sleep, right? And who wouldn't want that, right? But I bring the bassinet back, and she didn't really say much. So again, on brand, My wife didn't really tell me how she was feeling, uh, but she showed me, and I could see in her eyes. And she said these exact words that I'll never forget. She said, "This is so hard," and she hugged me, and she wasn't crying, but she had some, she was teary-eyed, and at that point, I knew exactly how she felt, without her even having to say it. I knew what she needed from me. I think, looking back on it now, that week too, she wanted to show strength. Moms always want to feel like they can do this, right? No mom wants to say, "Hey, this is too hard," or "This is too overwhelming," or because you want to be a great mom, right? You want to show up for your child. You brought him or her into this world, but you start doubting yourself, right? Especially when you're not sleeping well, and there's not exactly a manual on how to do it, right? Because every baby is different, and so yeah, she wasn't telling me how she felt because I think she just wanted to. She wanted to show she could do this, right? And she did it, right? Like, we have 3 kids now, and she did it. But we all have moments of low, right? Like, of adjustment, and at that point, she just needed me to be there, right? She didn't need me to overwhelm her with information. She didn't need new technology. None of that stuff was gonna work, right? Or it was gonna incrementally work, and it wasn't gonna. She just needed me there, just going through it with her, going through the tough times, going through the low times, going through the lack of sleep. I didn't have to. While I was going out and getting all these new things, I was just creating more distance. And although I thought I was doing the right thing, I guess I wasn't. And I needed to be there just to go through some of those lows. Because here's the thing I've learned is that, yeah, she didn't need me out there, right? Shopping for stuff. She needed me there with her. Because sometimes you just have to, when I go back to our wedding, all those vows, till death do us part, and I even forget what the speech was, but we said we'd be partners, right? Team members, and work together, right? And be there for each other. And that second week when the baby's not sleeping, sometimes that's just what it is, and you just got to go through it together. It's less lonely when you can just have someone sit beside you and just be tired with you. Be tired with her, be in those trenches with her, and that's what a partner is. And I should have been there as opposed to somewhere else. And so at that point, yeah, I knew exactly what she needed from me. And so, yeah, we just needed to be a team together. In life, I've realized now with kids is sometimes those uncomfortable moments, those tough moments, you can't get that quick fix. You just have to be there. You just have to live it, right? And sometimes you just have to be there for your partner and live through those tough times, as opposed to just trying to fix everything. Because that's that season of life. That week 2, when you're with your baby, there's no running away from it. So you guys just have to stay together and hold each other's hands. And I know it sounds funny, but just be there for each other, because baby's not going to sleep, man. There's no, baby's going to be hungry. It's going to wake up. But I think if you guys are both there and just acknowledge it and just be there for each other, it's a lot less lonely. And that's what my wife needed the most, was just a presence. and I needed just to be there and make the best out of a bad situation. So be there for your wife, be there for your partner. So that's episode 2 of week 2. The next episode, episode 3, is about that distance that you get in a marriage once the baby arrives. You know, you feel like you're drifting apart right away. You know, that week 1 euphoria of the baby and that honeymoon period, that's gone, and now you're in the trenches, like I said earlier, and you just feel like you're that relationship you have with your wife, all the love is gone. And what do you do? Okay, I'll leave a link here for episode 3, and I'll see you in the next episode. My name is Brian, by the way, and I'm a father of 3, and I'm living it, man. I'm living fatherhood.